Hello and welcome back to ISpeakSpokeSpoken. My name is James and today we are going to be testing your English pronunciation with these adverbs. So before we get started with the video, if you look at the top right hand corner of the video, you can click on a link and download all of the PDFs of the things that you can see behind me, and there's also a quiz over there that you can take. So let's get started, shall we? So number one, we have absolutely. Absolutely. So absolutely is an adverb that is talking about, it's showing how much you do something. So she absolutely loves her job. That means she really, really loves her job. And the way that we pronounce this is absolutely. Absolutely. So let's look at the transcription here that we have. So where is the stress? We have one, absolutely. We have 4 syllables in this word. Where would you say the stress is? Well, if you've followed our past videos before, you will know that when we have this mark here and a dot, that indicates that we have our stressed syllable. So our loot is our stressed syllable here. We also have this mark here, which means that we have a secondary stressed syllable as well. So we're not saying absolutely, we're saying absolutely. We're pronouncing that first bit as well. So in some words, when they're much longer, we will have that secondary stressed syllable as well. So if you want to repeat with me, absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Let's move on to the second one, shall we? Next up, we have apparently. Apparently. So we say apparently when we have heard some news about something. We don't want to say that something is 100%, but we want to kind of talk about that news. So apparently he's moving to Spain next month. How would we pronounce apparently? So we say apparently. Where is our stress in this word, as it's another big word? Yeah, so follow the same rule as before. We have our mark here, our mark here. It's our pa. It's our second part of the word here, so our second syllable. Apparently. Pa. That is our stress syllable here. So, apparently. Apparently. Very good. Next up, we have beautifully. Beautifully. So beautifully means that something was done so nicely. Really, really, really nicely. So the room was beautifully decorated for the party. So let's pronounce this. So where is our stressed syllable in this? Where would you say? If you follow the same rule as last time. Yes, the first one here. So beau. And if you can also see these 2 dots here, that means that we have a lengthened vowel. So we have beautifully. Yeah, we are. So we don't have beautifully or beautifully. It's beautifully, beautifully. And that is how we pronounce that one. So if you want to follow after me here, beautifully. Beautifully. Very good, very good. Keep on pronouncing it and copying me and repeating, because the more you do that, the more you're going to remember these words, and you'll also remember how to pronounce them, because that is exactly what we're doing in this episode here. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? So certainly. Certainly. So certainly means with absolute confidence, 100% I will do this. So I will certainly help you with that project. So you're not saying to someone that you might do it, you're saying I will definitely do that. And how would we pronounce certainly? Can you tell me where our stressed syllable is? It's our first one, right? We have 3 syllables, certainly, and it's our first one, as we have the little dot here and the little dot here. Do we also have a lengthened syllable here? Do we have a lengthened letter here as well? Yes, we do. It's this part here. Certainly. Okay, if you want to repeat after me, certainly. Certainly. Very good. And if you want to also take a look at this area here, because with the bit where I was just telling you about how we lengthen that sound, in American English, they'd say certainly, like they would curl the R, so certainly, they would curl that R over. Whereas in British English, we almost have quite a lazy sound when we make this. Our R's are quite generally R. We relax all of the muscles in our mouth and then just make a noise from our diaphragm. R. It's not R, which a lot of languages also do this as well. Or you see, in some other languages. But we would say R. We're not doing anything with our tongue or our mouths. It's just the air flowing through from our throats. So R. So certainly, that sound is coming through. And quite a lot of the time when you see an R, especially at the end of a word, we're not curling it. It's just the flat R that you've just heard. Next one we have clearly. So if something is clearly, it's obviously this way. So he was clearly upset about the news. He was obviously upset about the news. The same kind of meaning. So how would we pronounce clearly? There are two syllables here. Clearly. Which one is our stressed syllable, if you can notice it now? It is the first one, right? We have our dot here. Clearly. And the second part it's pronounced, but it's a lot lower. It's not as like clearly. It's clearly. It's falling down off of this part of the word. Clearly. He was clearly upset about the news. So if you want to repeat after me, clearly. Clearly. Very good. Next up we have deliberately. Deliberately means it was on purpose. So the weather changed. So she spoke very deliberately to avoid confusion. So what she was saying was very, like, it was on purpose, every word that she said. So she did that to avoid confusion. So which part of the word is stressed here? We have deliberately. 5 syllables here. Which one is our stressed syllable? Where are our stress syllable marks here? It's here, right? In the second one. Deliberately. So you want to imagine when you've got these stress syllables that you're jumping over something. So deliberately. You see, you're jumping over almost a hurdle, which is our stress syllable here. So let's let's go over that one more time. So deliberately. Very good. Keep remembering that stress syllable, because the more you understand the stress syllables, the more your English will sound more native and you'll be understood a lot more, because a lot of problems with kind of mispronunciation come from mispronouncing stress syllables, come from mispronouncing vowel sounds, and that is what we're working on today. So well done, and you are smashing it. So keep going, and we are going to carry on now. So next up we have dramatically. So dramatically means that something was really over the top. So the weather changed dramatically overnight. It became a much bigger than it was. So how would we pronounce this one? So dramatically. So 4 syllables here. And where is our stressed one? What would you say? Yeah, it is this one. So dramatically, not dramatically or dramatically. You see, we are pronouncing this part of the word a lot more. Dramatically. If you want to repeat, dramatically. Very good. Okay, next up we have easily, which means that something was very simple. So he passed he passed the exam easily. The exam wasn't that difficult for him. So how would we pronounce this one? So let's go through this one because it's a bit more complex in terms of pronunciation. So we have our 2 dots here, which means we have a lengthened vowel, E instead of I. E. Okay? And then we have our 2 dots here, which means that we have easily. So that is our easily. We have 3 syllables. The first one here is our stressed one. Easily. Yes, like even one part here can be our stressed syllable, which shows you that even if one syllable only has like 1 or 2 letters, it doesn't matter. It can still be the stressed syllable. Next up, we have number 9, which is eventually. So eventually means at some point in the future. So they eventually arrived after many delays. So it took a while, but they did it in the end. They arrived after many delays. So can you pronounce this? Eventually. Okay, and where's the stressed syllable in that? So eventually. Eventually. So 4 or 5 syllables, depending on how you pronounce it, because we say eventually, but someone might say eventually. You see? But here we are. So which part of this word is our stressed syllable? Which syllable? It's the ven bit, right? Eventually. So here we go. Yeah, so it's our second syllable. Eventually. If you want to repeat after me, eventually. Very good. And number 10, we have exactly, which means like just as I'm saying. So that's exactly what I meant. That is just what I meant. So how would we pronounce this one? Where is our stressed syllable? Exactly. It's in our second syllable, isn't it? So it's the zat bit here. We have our 2 dots. Exactly. So you can actually split the word into its syllables and practice that way. Because you can just practice zat, exactly. And in doing so, you will ingrain into your mind how these stressed syllables sound when they're put together. Because some letters may make a different noise in one area of language, of a word, but if they are stressed, they will make a different noise. So it's important to be able to understand that, but also be able to ingrain it in how English feels for you. Because after a while, you'll be able to read something and just understand that is where the stress will be, because that is how it's written. So yeah, in practicing, the more you practice, the better that will get. So if that's not how it is now, that's absolutely fine. So let's move on. Next up, we have frequently. So frequently means it happens a lot. So she frequently visits her grandparents. She visits her grandparents a lot. So where is our stressed syllable here? Frequently, 3 syllables. Where is the stressed one? It's in the first one, right? Frequently, not frequently or frequently. It's frequently. And we also have our 2 dots here, which show us that that is our lengthened vowel. So we have frequently. If you want to repeat, frequently. Very good. Next one we have generally. So generally means most of the time, like mainly. So he is generally a very quiet person. So generally is pronounced. So we have generally. We have 4 syllables. And which of those syllables is the stressed syllable, would you say? It is the first one here. Generally. So we're saying generally, not generally. We are pronouncing that gen much stronger. Next up, we have honestly. Honestly means when you are going to tell someone that you're going to tell the truth to someone. So you say, honestly, I didn't like the movie. How would you pronounce honestly? Where is the stress? It's in the first one, right? Honestly. And that's where we go. Next up, immediately. Notice how I'm not pronouncing the I as a I, it's as an immediately. You see? Okay, so he left immediately after the meeting, which means he left straight after the meeting, right as it ended. So yeah, our second syllable here is our stressed syllable, immediately. And we also have our 2 dots here, which signify a lengthened vowel sound. So immediately, immediately. And you'll notice how, yeah, as this I has just become a because it's not a stressed vowel. It's a kind of a really quick sound, immediately, immediately. You're hardly even voicing it. Next up, we have interestingly. Interestingly. So interestingly means that something's very fascinating. So interestingly, the data does not support the hypothesis. So that is something that is quite fascinating to this person. So whereabouts in this word is our stress syllable? We have interestingly, interestingly, 4 syllables, which means which one of them is our stress syllable? Can you see the dots? Interestingly, interesting, not interestingly, or interestingly, is interestingly, interestingly. It's the first one. There we go. Next up, we have literally, literally. So literally means when we're going to say that something is like exactly that. So I was literally the last person to know. I was literally the last person to know. So this is an interesting one because we have so many letters that we don't pronounce here. So it's not literally, it's literally, literally. So you're almost pronouncing it like this. Well, let me just take these out. We don't even pronounce those. Literally. Literally. So that's how you would phonetically spell it. Literally. Literally. But yeah, you're missing out many of these words, and it's because the T-E-R is making a ch sound. So literally. Next up, we have naturally. Very similarly, we have this T-U-R, which is then once again making that ch, naturally, naturally. So our stress syllable is our first one here. Naturally. 3 syllables. First one is the stressed. Naturally. Naturally. Not naturally. Or, yeah, naturally. Naturally. Very good. Next we have number 18, which is nearly, which means it's very close. So she has nearly finished writing her thesis. She's very close to finishing it. And how would you pronounce this one? We have 2 syllables. So if you want to try. Nearly, which means we have our first syllable, which is the stress syllable. Nearly. Nearly. Very good. Next one we have obviously. Obviously. So obviously means that something is so like it's very like you should know this thing. It's very common knowledge, or it's something that is easy to notice. It's obvious. So obviously we can't proceed without further information. So we pronounce obviously with a first syllable stress. So obviously, obviously. If you've ever seen Harry Potter, you'll notice that Professor Snape, he really exaggerates this line, obviously. You see, so that is a good way of remembering our first letter, or our first syllable being the stressed syllable here. Next up, we have particularly. So particularly. So particularly means I'm like, oh, yeah, no, particularly means like I'm quite interested. So I'm particularly interested in hearing your opinion. So like quite, so specifically your opinion I'm interested in hearing. I'm particularly interested in hearing your opinion. It's another one that is saying that there's a very high amount of interest. So our second syllable here is our stressed one. So if you want to try and say it, I will repeat after you actually this time. Yeah, particularly, not particularly, it's particularly, particularly. Try and get that lala sound. Particularly. It's not easy, but you'll get it, you'll get it. Let's go through some of these words, because I noticed I stopped getting you guys to repeat after me halfway through. So let's go back from number 11 here. So frequently. frequently. Very good. Generally. Generally. Great. Honestly. Perfect. If you want to keep on repeating. Immediately. Get that at the beginning. Immediately. Fabulous. Interestingly. Interestingly. Fabulous. Literally. Remember? Literally. Naturally. Naturally. Great. Nearly. Nearly. Obviously. Obviously. Try and mirror the stressed syllables that I'm saying. Particularly. Particularly. Number 21, we have perfectly. So perfectly means that something couldn't be any better. So the plan worked out perfectly. It was exactly how we planned it. So our per, that is our stress syllable, our first syllable here. Per. And then we have these two dots, which means we have a lengthened vowel. Perfectly. Not perfectly or perfectly. It's perfectly. And that is how we pronounce that one. Number 22, we have personally. 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 So we actually don't say this ali bit here. It's just personally. So we have, which syllable here is our stressed one? We have personally. It's not personally, personally. 3. It's our first syllable, right? Per. And we also have a lengthened vowel here. Personally. Personally. Yep, nice. Number 23, we have practically. Once again, we're not pronouncing ali, it's practically. So which syllable here is our stressed syllable? We have practically, again, 3. And where do we have our syllable? It's our first one again, right? So it's practically. We have a stressed syllable. So practically. You see? We are going from somewhere high, practically. And then we kind of relax the word from there. Practically. Next up, we have number 24, which is precisely. Precisely, which means exactly. So he arrived precisely at noon. How would you pronounce precisely? So where is our stressed syllable? Once again, now you should notice our symbols on the screen that actually indicate the fact that we have a stressed syllable. So how many syllables do we have in precisely? Precisely. 3 again. Which one is the stressed syllable? Can you see the symbols? We have a symbol here. We have a symbol here. So which part of the word is our stressed syllable? It's the sice, right? Precisely. Precisely. And we're not, yeah, so that's exactly how we pronounce it. If you want to repeat after me, precisely. Precisely. Very good. Next up, we have quickly, which means they went there very fast or something like this. So she quickly realized her mistake, really fast. She quickly realized her mistake. So how would we pronounce that? We have 2 syllables, quickly. So is it our first one? Is it quickly or is it quickly? Which one is it? It's our first syllable, right? We have the dot here and the dot here. Quickly. Quickly. And that is how we pronounce that one. Number 26, we have really. So really is probably one of the most common ones on this board here. So quickly, so really means is a lot. So it's like 100%. Like I really, really like this thing. So you can use this to show that you do something, to add to a verb to make it even more. So you could say, I really like playing football instead of I like playing football, because really shows how much you like playing football. So I really don't understand why he did that. So instead of saying I don't understand, I really don't understand adds more, like even more to that, you see? So how would we pronounce that? We have two syllables here, really. Which one is our stressed syllable? It's our first one, right? Really instead of really. So you see, really. So you want to pronounce that as a stressed first syllable. Number 27, recently. Recently means that something happened quite close to now. And it's in the past behind now. So I have recently started a new hobby. It means like you started the new hobby very close to now. So we could say recently, 3 syllables. We have our stress syllables after the I, re instead of recently. And we have our stress syllable, which is our first one. Recently, recently. Practice going even over the top with these stress syllables. Recently. And then you can lower it down after a while, because it's actually a good way to practice in kind of going over the top, and then you can slow it down a little bit, because then you can really see where that stress is and get that into your muscle memory. Next up, we have seriously. So seriously means being very making sure that you are not messing around, not playing around with something. You are taking it seriously. So you need to take his comments seriously. You need to listen to them and act on that. So seriously, 4 syllables. Which one is our stress syllable here? Well, I'm sure by now you can see the punctuation around them, and it's the first one. Seriously, seriously, first syllable stressed. Next one we have specifically. Specifically. Which one is our stress syllable? Which part? Specifically. 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 We have 4 syllables. Which one? It's our second one, right? Specifically. 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 And that's how you can practice. You can go from it being very dramatic, specifically, and then lowering it down. Specifically, specifically, specifically. And that's how you get that. Next up, and our last one of this video, we have usually. So usually means that most of the time this happens. So he usually goes for a run in the morning. And what do we have here? We have usually, 4 syllables there. So which one is our stress syllable? Usually. Well, we have our punctuation here, which shows us it's usually. It's our first syllable here, usually. And we also have our lengthened vowel here, so it's usually. It's not a quick usually, or usually. Very good. Nice one, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. And what you can do is, if you look at the top right hand corner of the video, you can click a little link up there that will take you to the PDF version of everything that you've seen behind me, and you can download that and use it in your own spare time. There's also a little quiz down there that you can take to see how well you're doing. You can always go back and watch this video again. You can download the slides and look through them whenever you'd like. And if you are on a mobile device and you can't see that, you can go down to the description below and click the link down there and download all of the same things. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. My name's been James. We've been ISpeakSpokeSpoken, and joyfully